Money has a way of revealing truths we'd rather keep buried. I learned this the hard way on a Tuesday afternoon while sorting through a stack of bank statements at my kitchen table. The numbers didn't add up. They hadn't for months. But today was different. Today, I finally saw the pattern. I'm Juliet, and until this moment, I thought I understood my life. Quiet, predictable, safe. The way I liked it after losing my parents young. But there it was, staring back at me from the paper. Thousands of dollars, vanishing in neat little transactions, always on the 15th of each month. "Daniel?" I called out, my voice steadier than I felt. "Could you come here for a minute?" My husband appeared in the doorway, laptop balanced on one arm, that familiar half-smile playing on his lips. "What's up, honey?" "These withdrawals." I spread the statements across the table. "They've been happening for almost 2 years. Where's the money going?" His smile didn't waver, but something flickered behind his eyes. "Business expenses. You know how it is with the new venture. Business expenses don't come from our joint savings account." I tapped the paper, and they don't always total exactly $5,000. Daniel set his laptop down, his movements deliberate. "Are you monitoring my spending now?" "I'm trying to organize our finances." The words felt hollow, rehearsed. "These withdrawals total over $100,000. You never cared about the finances before." He leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. "What's changed? Maybe I should have." I met his gaze. Maybe I trusted too much. He laughed, but it wasn't the warm sound I'd grown to love over our 7 years together. "You're being paranoid, Jules. This is exactly why I handle the money. You get worked up over nothing." "Nothing?" The word tasted bitter. "Show me the business records then. Prove it's nothing. I don't have to prove anything." His voice hardened. "This is my business, my work. You're a librarian, Juliet. What do you know about running a company?" The condescension in his tone made my skin crawl. I thought of all the times he'd dismissed my concerns, wrapped them up in pretty explanations that never quite made sense. "Your parents know about these withdrawals?" His face changed then, something ugly flashing across it. "Leave them out of this. My parents have nothing to do with our marriage." Funny how they always seem to be involved in everything else. I stood up, gathering the statements. "Especially when it comes to money." Daniel crossed the room in 3 quick strides, snatching the papers from my hands. "Enough. I won't stand here and be accused by my own wife. This conversation is over." "No," I said quietly. "I don't think it is." He turned back, his expression dangerous. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means I'm calling Vanessa Brooks tomorrow." I watched his face pale slightly at the lawyer's name. I think it's time I understood exactly what's happening to our money. "You're being ridiculous." He crumpled the statements in his fist. "This isn't like you, Jules. You're acting crazy." Maybe the crazy thing was trusting you blindly for so long. I moved toward the door, but he blocked my path. "Where are you going?" "To Mia's." I grabbed my purse from the counter. "I need some air." "Running to your little friend won't change anything." His words followed me down the hallway. "You're making a mistake, Juliet. A big one." I paused at the front door, my hand on the knob. The mistake was thinking you'd ever tell me the truth. As I walked to my car, my phone buzzed. A text from Evelyn, my mother-in-law. "Daniel says you're upset about something. Come over for tea tomorrow. We'll sort this out as a family." I deleted the message without responding. Family. Such a simple word for such a complicated web of lies. But they didn't know what I'd discovered yet. The second account. The one Daniel thought I'd never find. Tomorrow would change everything. I just had to be ready for what that meant. Mia's apartment always smelled like fresh coffee and possibility. She poured me a cup while I spread the bank statements across her kitchen counter, my hands still shaking from the confrontation with Daniel. "These transactions," she said, tapping the paper with a manicured nail. "They're not just random withdrawals. Look at the pattern." I leaned closer. Mia had been an accountant before switching to library work. and her eye for detail was sharper than mine. What do you see? Each withdrawal is followed by a deposit to another account 2 days later, but the amounts are slightly different. Always $300 less. She circled several entries. It's like someone's taking a cut. My phone buzzed again. Evelyn's third message since I'd left the house. I silenced it without looking. Your mother-in-law doesn't give up easily, Mia observed. She's probably already planning how to spin this at their country club. I took a sip of coffee, letting its bitterness ground me. Did I tell you what she said at dinner last week? Marriage is about trust, dear. Sometimes we must accept things we don't understand. Mia snorted, coming from the woman who audits her gardener's receipts. A knock at the door made us both jump. Through the peephole, I saw George Thompson's broad shoulders filling the frame. Juliet, he called out, his voice carrying that familiar note of authority. I know you're in there. We need to talk. Mia touched my arm. You don't have to answer. But I was already moving toward the door. 7 years of conditioning was hard to break. I opened it just enough to see his face. This little drama needs to end, George said, not bothering with hello. You're upsetting your mother-in-law, and Daniel is beside himself. Is that why you're here? To manage the situation? His expression hardened. I'm here because family matters should stay within the family. Whatever concerns you have about Daniel's business dealings. So you know about the money? A muscle twitched in his jaw. I know my son runs a successful company that supports your comfortable lifestyle. A lifestyle, might I add, that allows you to work part-time at that little library of yours. Your son is stealing from our joint accounts. Stealing? He laughed, but his eyes remained cold. You can't steal what's already yours. Perhaps if you showed more interest in supporting Daniel's work instead of playing detective. George. Mia appeared beside me. This is my home and you weren't invited. He looked at her like she was something stuck to his shoe. This doesn't concern you. Actually, it does. She held up her phone. I just finished looking up some interesting information about Thompson Enterprises. Want to explain why your company shares an address with 3 shell corporations? The color drained from George's face. You're making a mistake, he said, but his voice had lost its edge. Both of you. The mistake, I said quietly, was thinking I could trust any of you. After he left, Mia pulled up more records on her laptop. There's something bigger here, Jules. These shell companies, the regular withdrawals, it's too organized to be simple embezzlement. My phone lit up with a text from Daniel. Dad told me what happened. Stop this now or you won't like the consequences. They're scared, I realized. All of them. But why? Mia's printer whirred to life, spitting out page after page of financial records. Let's find out. That night, I didn't go home. Instead, I sat with Mia until dawn, piecing together the puzzle of my husband's deception. Each document revealed new questions. Offshore accounts, suspicious partnerships, and always, the shadow of George and Evelyn's influence. At sunrise, my phone buzzed with an email from an address I didn't recognize. The subject line read, Re Thompson Enterprises, what you need to know. Open it, Mia urged. Inside was a single sentence. If you want to know the truth about your husband's business, meet me at the Blue Crow Cafe tomorrow at noon. Come alone. The sender's name was familiar. Rebecca Turner, a former employee who'd left Thompson Enterprises 3 years ago under mysterious circumstances. I showed Mia the message. It could be a trap. Or it could be exactly what you need. She squeezed my hand. Sometimes the only way forward is through the fire. I stared at the email, feeling the weight of choice pressing down on me. Meeting Rebecca could destroy whatever was left of my marriage. Not meeting her might leave me trapped in this web of lies forever. I'll go, I decided. But first, I need you to help me move some money of my own. The Blue Crow Cafe sat wedged between a pawn shop and a defunct video store, its neon sign flickering like a dying heartbeat. Rebecca Turner hadn't changed much in 3 years. Same sharp features, same watchful eyes. She nursed a coffee gone cold, her fingers drumming against the ceramic. "I wondered how long it would take you to notice," she said as I slid into the booth. "Notice what?" "The pattern. The way they operate." She pushed a manila envelope across the table. "Your husband's family doesn't just steal money, Juliet. They steal lives." Inside the envelope, photographs spilled out like accusations. Our house, my house, captured at different times of day. Men in expensive suits entering through the side door when I should have been at work. Except I recognized one Tuesday timestamp. I'd called in sick that day. "They're using your home as a meeting point," Rebecca said, "just like they used my apartment when I worked for them. The difference is I figured it out faster." My coffee arrived, but the smell turned my stomach. "Why didn't you go to the police?" "With what? Photographs of rich men entering a private residence?" Her laugh was hollow. "The Thompsons own half this town, including most of the police force. Why do you think I left?" "You didn't leave." The realization hit like ice water. "They forced you out." She pulled up her sleeve, revealing a thin scar running from wrist to elbow. "Daniel has a temper when things don't go his way. Something tells me you've started to notice that too." My phone buzzed. "Daniel." "Where are you? Mother's waiting for lunch." "Don't answer," Rebecca warned. "The moment they know you're with me," the cafe's door chimed. George Thompson's familiar silhouette filled the entrance, and behind him, 2 men I'd seen in the photographs. "Juliet." George's voice carried across the room like a threat. "This is disappointing." Rebecca was already moving, sliding out of the booth. "Back door. Now." We made it 3 steps before one of the men blocked our path. "Miss Turner," he said, "this is a private family matter. Everything's private with the Thompsons," she spat, "until someone ends up dead." The cafe had gone silent, other patrons suddenly fascinated by their meals. George approached slowly, hands raised like he was calming a spooked animal. "Whatever she's told you," he said to me, "remember who your family is." "Family?" The word tasted like poison. "Is that what you call this?" "Your husband is worried sick. Come home, let's discuss this properly." "Like you discuss things with Rebecca?" His expression hardened. "That situation was unfortunate." "That situation was attempted murder," Rebecca cut in. "Tell her, George. Tell her about the insurance policy Daniel took out on her 6 months ago." The world tilted sideways. I grabbed the nearest table for support, photographs scattering across the floor. One landed face up. Daniel shaking hands with a man I recognized from the local news. A businessman recently found dead in his car. "Enough." George snapped his fingers and the men moved forward. "This ends now." What happened next blurred like a fever dream. Rebecca's elbow connecting with a jaw. My purse spilling, bank statements flying. The back door slamming open to reveal Mia with her phone raised, recording everything. "Touch either of them," she announced, "and this goes live to every news outlet in the state." George froze, calculation replacing anger. "You have no idea what you're involving yourself in." "Actually," Mia's smile was razor sharp, "we have exactly the right idea. Why else would you be here?" We backed toward the door, Rebecca's hand tight around my wrist. "The insurance policy," she whispered. "That's your proof. Start there." George called after us. "Daniel won't forgive this betrayal." I turned back one last time, seeing him clearly for the first time. Not a powerful patriarch, but a desperate man trying to hold his empire together. "Good," I said. "Neither will I." In Mia's car, speeding toward the lawyer's office, Rebecca finally spoke again. "They'll come after all of us now." "Let them." I clutched the envelope of photographs, my hands steady for the first time in days. I'm done being afraid. My phone lit up with a text from Daniel. "Whatever you think you know, you're wrong. Come home now, or I can't protect you anymore." I typed back 6 words that would change everything. "I don't need your protection." I quit. Then I turned off my phone, watching my old life disappear in the rearview mirror. Vanessa Brooks's office felt too small for the weight of Rebecca's evidence. The lawyer spread the photographs across her desk, each one a nail in Daniel's coffin. My hands wouldn't stop shaking, even after my third cup of coffee. Life insurance policies don't lie, Vanessa said, tapping the document. $2 million payable to Daniel Thompson in the event of your death, taken out 6 months ago without your knowledge or consent. Mia's hand found mine under the table. That's fraud, right? That's attempted murder waiting to happen. Rebecca leaned forward. Just like the businessman in the photos, Thompson Enterprises insured him for $5 million 3 weeks before his accident. The office door burst open. Laura Bennett from the women's shelter stood there, breathless. They're at your house, Juliet. Daniel and his father, they're destroying everything. My throat closed. The books. Not just the books. Laura's eyes met mine. They found your mother's journals. The room tilted. Those journals were all I had left of her, hidden away in the false bottom of my closet. Pages filled with her suspicions about my father's death. Theories that never made sense until now. Your mother? Rebecca said slowly. What was her maiden name? Chen. Margaret Chen. Why? Vanessa's fingers flew across her keyboard. Chen International Holdings, owned by your grandfather until 20 years ago, when it mysteriously collapsed after partnering with Thompson Enterprises, I finished, the truth hitting like a physical blow. My father worked for Daniel's family back then. And died in a car accident 3 months later, Rebecca added, just like our recent businessman friend. My phone buzzed. A video message from Daniel. My childhood bedroom in flames, my mother's journals feeding the fire. His voice calm and collected. Come home now, or everything burns, including these interesting theories about your father's death. He's bluffing, Mia said. The journals are already burning. But the evidence isn't. I pulled out my phone, hands steady now. Mother never trusted paper alone. The video I'd been saving loaded slowly. Security footage from my father's office the night he died. A younger George Thompson entering, then leaving 2 hours later. My father never came out. Where did you get this? Vanessa leaned closer. Mother's safety deposit box, along with documentation of every illegal deal the Thompsons made that year. I met Rebecca's eyes, including the ones that destroyed my grandfather's company. Laura's phone chimed. They're leaving your house, and Juliet, Evelyn's with them. Good. I stood up, surprising myself with my steadiness. Let them run home to plan their next move. We have what we need. If we release this, Vanessa warned, there's no going back. They'll come at you with everything they have. They already killed my father, tried to kill Rebecca, planned to kill me. The words came out cold, certain. I'm done hiding. Mia touched my arm. What about the other wives? The other accidents? That's why we're not going to the police. I pulled out my laptop. We're going to every major news outlet simultaneously. Let the court of public opinion do what the justice system won't. They'll deny everything, Rebecca said. Let them. Mother kept receipts. 20 years of detailed records waiting for someone to finally use them. My phone buzzed again. Evelyn this time. Whatever you're planning, remember that family protects family. I typed back. Yes, they do. The irony wasn't lost on me. The Thompsons had destroyed my family trying to protect their empire. Now I would destroy their empire trying to protect other families from their reach. Send everything, I told Vanessa. Every photo, every document, every video. Let them burn like my mother's journals. And Daniel? Laura asked softly. I thought of our wedding day. How sincere his vows had seemed. How carefully he'd hidden the monster behind the mask. Let him learn what it feels like to lose everything he loves. The news would break tomorrow. By noon, Thompson Enterprises would be trending for all the wrong reasons. By evening, their carefully constructed world would begin to crumble. You'll need protection, Vanessa said. Once this hits, I know. I closed my laptop. That's why we're not finished yet. Mother left me one more gift to unwrap. Rebecca raised an eyebrow. What kind of gift? The kind that makes sure the Thompsons can never hurt another family again. I stood up. Who's ready for phase 2? The inheritance letter arrived on a Thursday, 3 days after the news broke about Thompson Enterprises. I stared at the number, $8 million, while Vanessa explained the details. My great-aunt Claire, someone I'd never met, had left me everything. The timing is suspicious, Mia said, pacing behind my chair. It's not suspicious. Rebecca's voice cut through the tension. It's calculated. Check the executor's name. Margaret Chen. My mother. That's impossible, I whispered. She died 5 years ago. The trust was established 15 years ago, Vanessa explained, with specific instructions not to release the funds until certain conditions were met. My phone lit up with Daniel's face. His 5th call since the story broke about Thompson Enterprises' connection to 3 suspicious deaths. I let it ring. What conditions? I asked. Marriage to a Thompson. Vanessa slid another document across her desk. And evidence of criminal activity within the family business. The office door opened. Laura stepped in, her face ashen. They're moving assets, fast. Daniel just cleared out your joint accounts and listed your house for sale. My hands curled into fists. He can't sell the house without my signature. He can with this. Laura held up a document. My signature, perfectly forged, dated 3 days ago. The room spun. Everything I'd thought I was achieving. Every step ahead I believed I'd taken. It had all been part of someone else's plan. My mother's plan. There's more, Rebecca said quietly. The business that collapsed 20 years ago? Your grandfather's company? It didn't just fall apart. It was systematically dismantled by the Thompsons, piece by piece, using inside information from my father. I finished. Before they killed him. My phone buzzed again. Evelyn. The inheritance belongs to the family. Daniel is your husband. Don't force us to take legal action. A laugh bubbled up, bitter and sharp. They think they can threaten me into handling over the money. They can try, Vanessa said. But your mother was thorough. The trust has one final condition. All assets are forfeit if you remain married to Daniel Thompson. The pieces clicked into place. My mother hadn't just left me money, she'd left me a weapon. How long? I asked. To divorce him? 30 days from receiving the inheritance notification. After that, the money goes to a women's shelter building fund. My phone chimed with an email. Security footage from my house. Daniel and George carrying boxes of documents to their car. In the background, Evelyn supervised as movers loaded my furniture. They're not just taking documents, Mia observed. They're erasing you. Something inside me shifted, a final thread of restraint snapping. Show me the trust documents. All of them. Vanessa hesitated. There's a reason your mother waited until now. Once you see everything, I need to know. She unlocked her bottom drawer and withdrew a thick file. Inside, photos spanned decades. The Thompsons systematically destroying families, arranging accidents, forging documents. My father's death had been just one link in a long chain. Claire wasn't really your aunt, Rebecca said softly. She was your mother's friend, one of the first to notice the pattern of suspicious deaths around Thompson Enterprises. My phone lit up one last time. Daniel had sent a video. My childhood photos burning in the backyard fire pit. His voice calm as ever. Come home now, and maybe we can save what matters. I watched the flames consume my past, feeling strangely peaceful. He thinks he's punishing me. Isn't he? Laura asked. No. I stood up, gathering the trust documents. He's proving my mother right. The Thompsons only know how to destroy, so let's see how they handle being destroyed. What's your play? Mia's eyes gleamed. First, we leak the divorce filing. Let them scramble to protect their precious prenup. I pulled out my phone, composing a text to Evelyn. Then we show them what real power looks like. They'll retaliate, Vanessa warned. Good. I hit send on the text. Thank you for making this easy. See you in court. The response came instantly. Don't do this, Juliet. Family protects family. I thought of my mother spending 15 years orchestrating this moment from beyond the grave. Of my father, trying to expose the truth until it killed him. Of Claire, sacrificing her fortune to give me the means to finish what they started. You're right, Evelyn, I whispered to myself. Family does protect family, and my family has been protecting me all along. The Thompson Enterprises board meeting wasn't just being live-streamed, it was trending. I watched from Mia's laptop as Daniel stood at the podium, his carefully crafted mask finally cracking. These allegations are baseless, he insisted, but his voice wavered. Behind him, George gripped the back of his chair, knuckles white. My wife is experiencing a mental breakdown. Your wife, Rebecca's voice cut through the room as she stood, has provided documentation of 3 suspicious deaths connected to Thompson insurance policies. She turned to face the shareholders. And there are more. The room erupted. I clicked through the other feeds, local news, social media, business channels. The story was everywhere. Daniel's face, George's crimes, Evelyn's complicity. 20 years of carefully hidden secrets, exposed in 20 minutes. My phone buzzed. Laura. They're at the shelter, armed. The world tilted sideways. The women's shelter, where we'd hidden the original documents, where 3 of Daniel's other victims were staying, where Laura was supposed to be safe. They're desperate, Mia said, grabbing her keys. They know they're losing everything. Not everything. My voice sounded distant, even to myself. Not yet. We were 3 blocks away when the first gunshot echoed. Police sirens wailed in the distance, too far to help. Through the shelter's windows, I caught glimpses of movement. Laura and the others huddled in the back office, Daniel's men searching room by room. The safe room, I whispered. If they can make it to the basement, another shot. Glass shattered somewhere inside. Juliet, wait. But I was already moving, using my key to slip through the side entrance. The shelter's hallway stretched dark and endless. Voices drifted from above. Daniel's men coordinating their search. In the distance, Laura's office door stood ajar, a thin trail of blood leading inside. My phone lit up silently. Daniel. Did you think I wouldn't find them? That I'd let you destroy everything my family built? A floorboard creaked behind me. I turned to find Evelyn, her designer dress incongruous in the shelter's dim light. I tried to warn you, she said softly. Family protects family. Like you protected those other wives? The ones who discovered too much? Something flickered across her face. Doubt, maybe even guilt. We did what was necessary. So am I. Footsteps thundered down the stairs. Daniel appeared, flanked by 2 men I recognized from the photographs. His eyes were wild, his perfect composure shattered. The documents, he demanded. Where are they? Gone. I met his gaze steadily. Everything's already uploaded. Every death, every fraud, every cover-up. Your father's signature on my father's murder. Your signature on Rebecca's attack. You're lying. Check your phone. He did. The color drained from his face as notifications flooded in. News alerts, messages, his carefully constructed world imploding in real time. You could have had everything, he whispered. We could have given you the perfect life. Perfect? I laughed, the sound sharp and bitter. You killed my father. Planned to kill me. That was your idea of perfect? Daniel. Evelyn's voice shook. The police. Shut up, Mother. He raised the gun, his hand trembling slightly. This ends now. Time slowed. I saw my mother's journals burning, my father's last security footage, Rebecca's scar. 20 years of Thompson family secrets, built on broken lives and stolen futures. You're right, I said. It does. The basement door burst open. Laura emerged with the other women, phones raised, live streaming everything. Behind them, Mia and Rebecca blocked the exit, ensuring no one could escape. "Say hello to your shareholders, Daniel," I whispered. "They're watching." His finger tightened on the trigger. In that moment, I saw what my mother must have seen all those years ago. The rot at the heart of the Thompson family, the darkness they'd tried to hide behind wealth and power. The gun wavered. Sirens grew closer. "Daniel, please," Evelyn begged. "Don't." The shot rang out, deafening in the narrow hallway. But it wasn't Daniel who fired. George Thompson stood at the top of the stairs, his own gun smoking. "No one," he said calmly. "Threatens my family." I felt the impact before the pain. My mother's final gift, the truth that would destroy them all, still clutched in my hand as the world faded to black. The last thing I heard was Evelyn's scream. Not for me, but for what she finally understood. Their perfect family was built on nothing but lies, and now those lies would bury them all. The hospital lights flickered overhead as I woke to find Evelyn Thompson sitting beside my bed. Her perfect posture remained, but her eyes held something I'd never seen before. Fear. "George always was the true monster," she said quietly. "I just pretended not to see it." My shoulder throbbed where the bullet had struck. Through the window, I could see police lights still flashing in the parking lot. "Where's Daniel?" "In custody, along with his father." She placed a manila envelope on my lap. "These belong to your mother. I've kept them hidden for 20 years. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside, photographs showed a younger Evelyn with my mother, smiling, close. Friends. "You knew," I whispered. "All this time, you knew what they did to my father." "I thought I was protecting my family." Her voice cracked. "But I was just protecting their crimes." The door opened. Rebecca and Mia entered, followed by Laura, her arm bandaged but standing tall. "The footage is everywhere," Mia said. "George's confession, Daniel's threats, everything." "Thompson Enterprises stock has crashed," Rebecca added. "The board is calling for a complete investigation." Evelyn stood, smoothing her skirt with shaking hands. "They'll come for me too, as they should." "Why now?" I asked. "After all these years, why help me?" "Because I saw myself in you. The same trap, the same gilded cage." She pulled out one final photograph, herself, young and bruised, with my mother standing protective beside her. Margaret tried to help me leave once. I chose fear instead. Chose to become what I feared. The hospital room door burst open. Daniel stood there, handcuffed, flanked by officers. His eyes were wild, his carefully maintained facade shattered completely. "Mother," he snarled, "what have you done?" "What I should have done 20 years ago." She turned to face him fully. "Your father didn't just kill James Moore. He killed part of me too, and I let him. Everything I did for this family." "No." Her voice was steel. "Everything you did for power, just like your father." I watched them, mother and son, their perfect world crumbling. Through the window, I could see George being led to a separate police car, his empire collapsing in real time. "The insurance policy," I said quietly. "Was that your idea or his?" Daniel's face contorted. "You were supposed to be grateful. We gave you everything. You gave me lies, just like you gave my mother lies, like you gave every woman you destroyed lies." "Daniel Thompson." One officer stepped forward. "You're being charged with conspiracy to commit murder, fraud." The charges continued, each one a nail in the coffin of the Thompson legacy. But Daniel's eyes never left mine. "I loved you," he whispered. "No." I met his gaze steadily. "You loved controlling me. There's a difference." As they led him away, Evelyn placed one last thing on my bed. A key. "To the lake house safe," she said. "Everything's there, every crime, every victim, every cover-up. Use it wisely. They'll arrest you too." "Good." She straightened her shoulders. "Maybe prison will be more honest than the cage I built for myself." After she left, Laura sat beside me. "Your mother would be proud." "Would she?" I touched the photographs, these pieces of a past I never fully understood. All this revenge, all this pain. This isn't just revenge, Mia interrupted. This is justice. For your parents, for Rebecca, for all of them. My phone lit up with news alerts. Thompson Enterprises stock in freefall, investigations opening, victims coming forward. 20 years of carefully hidden crimes exposed in a single day. What now? Rebecca asked softly. I looked at the key Evelyn had left, thinking of all the evidence waiting to be uncovered. Of all the other families like mine, waiting for truth, for justice. Now, I said, we make sure this never happens to anyone else. Through the window, I watched the police cars pull away, taking with them the remains of the Thompson empire. In the end, it wasn't my revenge that destroyed them. It was their own lies, finally dragged into the light. Mother had known this would happen, had planned for it, waited for it, ensured I would be ready when the moment came. In destroying the Thompsons, I had fulfilled not just my vengeance, but her justice. The lake house key felt heavy in my palm as I stood before the iron safe. Behind me, Laura and Rebecca documented each piece of evidence we uncovered, while Mia photographed everything. 20 years of Thompson family secrets, preserved in perfect order. Your mother's handwriting, Vanessa said, holding up a leather journal. She documented everything, even after they threatened her. The final trial date was set for next week. Daniel, George, and their conspirators would face justice in a courtroom packed with their victims. But here, in this moment, I found something else. Understanding. There's a letter for you, Mia said softly, holding out a yellowed envelope. Dated the day before your mother died. My hands didn't shake as I opened it. They hadn't shaken since the hospital. My dearest Juliet, I read aloud. By the time you find this, you'll understand why revenge wasn't enough. The Thompsons destroy families. It's what they do. But we protect them. It's what we've always done. Rebecca touched the scar on her arm. She knew this day would come. She planned for it. Laura added, gesturing to the meticulous files. Every victim, every crime, every connection. She made sure nothing could be buried again. The safe's final compartment contained a single photograph. My mother with Claire, standing before a building I recognized. The women's shelter where everything had ended and begun. The property deed's in your name, Vanessa said, reviewing the documents. Claire bought it years ago, left it in trust. Your mother's final note says, some legacies are built on lies, I finished, remembering the words from my childhood. Others on truth. Choose wisely. My phone buzzed. A message from Evelyn's lawyer. She'd agreed to testify against George and Daniel in exchange for a reduced sentence. Her statement began with an apology to my mother. The shelter needs renovation, Laura said carefully. And there are more women coming forward every day looking for help. I studied the photograph again. My mother and Claire hadn't just left me money or evidence. They'd left me purpose. Start the paperwork, I told Vanessa. The inheritance, the property, everything, it goes to establishing a foundation for families destroyed by men like the Thompsons. And Daniel? Mia asked. The newspaper on the table showed his latest court appearance. He looked small now, ordinary. The monster who'd haunted my life reduced to a man in handcuffs. He can live with the truth, I said. It's a harsher sentence than any court could give him. Rebecca picked up another file. There are other companies like Thompson Enterprises, other families hiding similar secrets. Then we'll find them. The certainty in my voice surprised even me. That's what Mother would have wanted. Not just revenge, revolution. The lake house windows reflected the setting sun, painting the room in shades of amber and shadow. In that light, I could almost see my mother standing there, planning this moment, ensuring her daughter would have the strength to finish what she started. The contractors can start Monday, Laura said, already making calls. We'll need offices, counseling spaces, security systems. And a library, I added, thinking of all the stories yet to be told. Every shelter needs a library. The last document in the safe wasn't evidence or legal papers. It was a simple note in my mother's hand. Remember, darling, the strongest walls aren't built with stone, but with truth. Build something that lasts. Outside, Mia's camera captured the final rays of sunlight striking the lake. Soon, this peaceful place would transform into a sanctuary for others like us. Survivors turning their pain into power. Ready? Rebecca asked, holding the last box of evidence. I locked the empty safe, pocketing both keys, the iron one from Evelyn and the golden one my mother had left behind. Different keys, different legacies, both leading to the same truth. Sometimes justice wears the face of vengeance, but healing wears the face of hope. Ready, I said, and stepped into the fading light, leaving the shadows of the Thompson legacy behind. The lake house would tell new stories now. Stories of women rising from ashes, of families rebuilding from ruins, of truth emerging from darkness. My story, our story, was just the beginning.